If you guys would like to buy coins, you can go to MMOXP.com. There will be a link in the description. They are the cheapest and safest option. You can use my code JFC at checkout for a 5% discount. Well, guys, I'm thinking that this whole loan situation that has been the talk of the town for the last 24 hours, this really might backfire, actually, because the perception around this has been very divided, for one, and for two, EA are kind of getting exposed here in a way, and I'll talk about that and kind of why it feels like people are starting to wake up a bit and realize this fact about FIFA cards that is legitimately EA's worst nightmare. It's absolutely their worst nightmare. And I was going to talk about packs today. I think in my video I said I'm going to talk about packs and pack weight and why I think that it's going in a really, really bad direction for us. And obviously that's not some sort of hot take. You guys are well aware of the direction the game is going, but I wanted to kind of explain why it's going in a really, really bad direction with the pack weight. But that's neither here nor there right now. The last 6 to 12 hours has been talking about all of these cards, right? And the effect it has on the game so far, and like, hey, wait a minute, why aren't these cards so beyond broken? Like, we got the most insane stats on these cards, and yes, they're good and debatably very good, but all it's doing is exposing the gameplay flaws. All this has done is accentuate the gameplay flaws in this game that have to be addressed, and I don't know if they even can be addressed because they go so deep and there's so many of them. But anyway, we'll get into that. So the first tweet was Rick TH saying, I don't know how this card was insanely slow for me. For me, the R2, he was, like, the defenders caught up to him super easily. That's just how this game is, guys. The defenders is this, if you have Mbappe with 98 pace and you still can't outrun somebody, besides the L1 speed boost, which is broken and unrealistic, but that's the only way to actually outpace a defender. If he can't outrun a center back, nobody's going to. Huge Gorilla, who's a pro, saying there's not much difference, if any, between the gold versions and the Ballon d'Or versions. It's less of an indictment on the cards. It's more so an indictment of just the gameplay itself. The gameplay is so in the mud, unresponsive. I played a bit on console. Oh my god, guys, I don't know how you guys do it. I'm sorry. I legitimately, I don't know how I'm ever going back on console. I was trying to play Weekend League again, like on 2 accounts, because there was the Ballon d'Or cards. I was going to go and use Bomati because I did pick her for the other account. I played one game and I'm like, wow. I am just constantly stunned at how this game feels on console. But that's the problem, is that when your game feels like just absolute dog shit, of course stats going up by +3 isn't actually going to make that big of a difference. And the replies were all saying this, right? I mean, the game and servers are in the mud. Good gameplay improves a card more than the 20+ on all stats. If you had good gameplay, I mean, yeah, you would probably notice the differences here. It's hard to tell because of how bad the game is. 95 dribbling or 80 dribbling, your players feel awful. But this is sort of a problem for EA because that illusion is disappearing. Because when you have this terrible gameplay, you might be thinking, okay, the game is pay to win, which it is. My gameplay is going to feel much better when I get these crazy cards, right? If I go out and I get Mbappe and Vinny and an icon here and an icon there and a team I can get by spending $1,000, your gameplay has to improve, right? It doesn't have to, actually. Your gameplay might still feel like absolute ass cheeks. There's no way that that's not a problem for EA when now it's like, wait a minute, even if I go out and I spend money to get this crazy team, the gameplay still feels like this? Oh, Jesus. Then there's no point. I mean, there's just 0 point. And of course, many of us have probably known this, where the gameplay is not going to change that drastically if you do have the best cards in the game. If the gameplay sucks, then it sucks. But there will be plenty of new people figuring that out for the first time just in the last 24 hours, right? This Bateson tweet, though, let's talk about it. I'm not sure if I'm being selfish, but I really hope EA don't do another loan event like this weekend. Champs is already a shit show without loans running straight through your defense. The amount of crazy score lines I had in my 15 games was nuts. And I like he prefaced this by saying, I'm not sure if I'm being selfish. That's good, because he's probably just trying to have like an actual dialogue here. But Bateson, you can afford quite literally every card in the game. You have the luxury of affording anybody you want to at all times. He says in the replies down here that it's like, yeah, I'm running an RTG. Like, that criticism doesn't work, but it still does, because you still have the luxury to go play on your other account and use whoever you want to whenever you want to. People who literally, if they don't spend money, they cannot afford Mbappe until God knows when. They got to use him this weekend. That has to be a net positive. We play this game to try and use our favorite players, right? If Mbappe is one of your favorite players in real life, you got to use him this weekend probably months ahead of when you were going to, or when you were probably going to, right? So ignoring the market stuff, because that's another debate too, but just the fact that we're sitting here saying, don't do this again because we got to use good cards is is kind of crazy to me. When you had the luxury to literally use whoever you want to, whenever you want to, you spend thousands of dollars on this game, right? And the amount of crazy score lines I had in my 15 games was nuts. I personally still found it insanely difficult to break defenses down. Maybe that was just me, and that might be a skill issue, right? It might be, but I'm curious to know if you guys had that same issue as well, where it was just like every game was 10-9 or some shit like that. For me, when I was 8-1 in champs, games were still mega defensive because that's what this game is set up to be. So kind of a side note here, but Bateson, I do think you're not being selfish per se. I mean, slightly, but your perspective on this whole situation when you can go out and you rocked Mbappe and Vinny Weekend League weekend 1, and by now the novelty's worn off to you and people get to finally do it one weekend league, your sentiment kind of falls on deaf ears a bit, but I, of course, could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think about that. I saw another tweet here. Oops, it's not on the screen. This card plays like Mbappe is against Hansi Flick every match. Like, just a random tweet I just saw right now. Everyone's talking about how massive fraud with the fakest stats I've ever seen. I think that the stats are not fake. We know the stats aren't fake because we had Chemgate in FIFA 16, which had fake stats. Fake stats was actually a thing. Then it got fixed. Of course, that's not talking slider manipulation. That's a whole other debate. But cards themselves, the stats are not fake. They're legit. Cards can feel different with the same stats. That can still happen because of a multitude of other factors. But the stats themselves are legit. Why does he feel like he sucks still? So he has these stats: quick step plus 95 rated. It's Mbappe, who's got like he's the jammiest card in the world. Why does he still feel like he sucks? Because your gameplay blows cock. I mean, it's that simple. And from EA's point of view, I don't get why they must think that gameplay just straight up doesn't affect their profits in any way, because I think they would do they'd give much more of an effort to make good gameplay. Here's the thing. To a certain extent, yes, I think that people will still be addicted to packs. There will be a certain set of people that it doesn't matter what the gameplay is like. They'll play the game anyway in open packs regardless and spend money on the game no matter what. But I find it so hard to believe if you made good and fun gameplay that your potential earnings wouldn't be higher. This year, they might end up making the same amount of money they did last year, or maybe they even end up making more money than they did last year, right? I have no idea. But you're telling me that if they made good, engaging, fun gameplay, good game modes, and we had the sort of same fun factor we used to have, which obviously the solutions to do that are up for debate, but if they did manage a way to do that, you're telling me with the amount of extra buzz this game would have, you wouldn't end up making more money? That's the weird part to me, is like, think about the potential you guys have. This is where my problem's always been. Yes, you can be lazy with your gameplay and kind of make it shit. It doesn't matter. To a certain extent, yes, you will still make money, but obviously their biggest priority is money. You don't think you'd make more with better gameplay? Of course you're going to. You think word of mouth wouldn't get around saying, oh, this is actually the best FIFA in years, and people would actually maybe think about getting the game again or playing it for longer, which gives them a better chance to spend money on the game? That's why it's always been strange to me, is that yes, you probably are still going to make a fucking shit ton of money if you make dog shit gameplay, but if you made good gameplay, the potential earnings aren't higher? Of course they're higher. And random side note here, I don't want to be a doomer about shit. Like, I am so passionate about this game. There are so many facets of it that I absolutely love, and I made a channel about it, talking about it, because I care about it a lot. I want it to succeed and have it do well. I don't want EA themselves to succeed, but I want the game itself to grow and become, unleash its full potential, right? I don't want to be a doomer all the time. I just want to keep it real with you guys, and obviously keeping it real is subjective, so it's, it's just my opinion, but I was going to speak to you guys about how I'm feeling. But evolutions also I'm worried about, because the stat caps kind of suck. I mean, they kind of do. I was looking today, I'm like, okay, with all the things they've added, play styles and stats and roles, there's so many things to think about, right? I wanted a poacher plus striker because I love poacher. I wanted finesse shot trait because shooting a finesse shot without finesse shot trait, you might as well hand the ball to the goalkeeper. And I wanted incisive pass because I like to build up with my striker, and incisive pass, super important for through balls. Without that, it's just much more difficult to do through balls, right? So just 3 things, not even counting the stats, okay? Not even worrying about any of the stats, just having a card with poacher plus, finesse shot, and incisive pass. All I wanted with an evolution. There's 2 of them. There's 2 cards that I can go and get that have these 3 things. And that's not even looking at the stats. Okay, well, the stats actually on Kavist Garden are really good. Oops, the links suck, so can't use him. Count that into the factor too. You got links to think about, positions, roles, card stats, skill moves and weak foot, play styles. I mean, good fucking God. I know that we're still early on in the game. We're only like over a month in, so we're not gonna have that many evos as of now. I want to give them a little bit of grace, but just this is kind of a side note to like my personal thing, where there's so many things to think about that evolutions is so difficult for them to actually make good, because you are making the game harder on yourself because there's so many goddamn things to think about in every card. How do you worry about upgrading every single one of them? I mean, you almost can't. It's like you're getting in your own way. So I don't know. I can talk about evos forever. I love evolution. evolutions. I think it's one of the best additions they've made in years. I want to give them their credit for that. But it does feel like with these stat caps right now, all they're trying to do is control all of our evolutions. We cannot have you have one card that is above our power curve that we have in our minds that won't even get grid animations because they're not going to have the Mbappe animations, the unique body types and shit. They don't got that. They got low reaction to composure and shit. Just, they still can't, they can't give you an inch, okay? They can't give you an inch unless it's fucking Ballon d'Or loan cards out of nowhere because they're desperate and it seems like, oh shit, yeah, what do we do? I don't know. That could not even be true. I'm just speaking how I feel right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, of course. I think that is it for me. Love you all. Peace.